Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today I wanted to talk about what I wish that every physician and healthcare provider, and for that matter, anybody who engages in any kind of customer service occupation, understood about what causes people to sue for damages. Now, everyone thinks that it's the ultimate result that causes people to sue for damages. And to some extent, that's true. You don't sue somebody if you're not damaged. But it often is not the driving factor in pushing someone to sue you. Normally, what the driving factor is the perception of how you were treated. So I have a friend who has an issue with their hip. And like a lot of us at our age, we tend to get a little crusty at the once we get past 6 decades, and things that used to work just fine suddenly wind up causing us to wince when we stand up or walk any distance. And so this person has a problem with their hip. It's kind of an osteoarthritis sort of thing, and quite by accident discovered that the drug Celebrex worked for her. She went and had a surgical procedure, a minor surgical procedure on her nose, and they gave her a Celebrex preoperatively, and her hip did not hurt for about 2 weeks after that. So she went to the doctor and she asked the doctor for a prescription for Celebrex. Now, she asked for it by name, but of course, when doctors put in Celebrex into their computer, it pops out, I believe the name is Celecoxib. I'm convinced that drug companies, when they go to name these drugs, they have some kind of a little wheel spinner, and it's like 3 different syllables, and they spin the wheel and they get Cella. Okay, that's the first part. And then what are we going to do next? Oh yeah, okay, Cox, yeah. And then we need some kind of a Celecox sounds kind of gross. Let's Ib. Yeah, that's it. Celecoxib. Okay. That's how they name these drugs. I'm absolutely convinced of that. Tell me in the comments if you have a better understanding of how they name these things, because I don't think it has anything to do with the chemical formulations. I think it's some kind of a marketing deal. My own opinion. So at any rate, they write the prescription for this particular drug and they send it off to the pharmacy. And when she goes to pick up the drug, they say, I'm sorry, insurance didn't approve it. Your doctor needs to do a pre-authorization or a prior authorization, I think is what they called it. So the insurance company involved uses a company called Express Scripts to do their pharmacy benefit management. Now, pharmacy benefit management is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And there are some allegations out there that pharmacy benefit managers play both sides of the street. They act as sole distributors for certain drugs so that certain drug companies can mark that price up. And then, on the other hand, they will require you to do a prior authorization for a generic drug. Now, I could understand if we were talking about something that cost about what the same weight in platinum would be. But a generic drug, generally speaking, shouldn't be that expensive. But I think this is another one of those situations where people have gotten together and they've manufactured this drug and they just feel like because the brand name is so expensive, they can charge whatever they want for the generic. So this is the website for Viatris, who is the company that makes Celebrex. And they have lots of information on this website to tell you everything you might ever want to know about this particular drug. They can tell you that it's backed by 20 years of clinical experience, that it's proven to help manage the pain of osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, and that they have an ongoing commitment to product quality and safety monitoring. Okay, I get that. And there are important safety warnings on the website. It's like most drug companies' websites. It does have some significant information on it. And they even have a little bit of a savings tab here to tell you how you can get it less expensively. But having written the prescription for the generic version of Celebrex, the physician was unwilling to do a prior authorization because it's a generic drug. And he didn't think there was any need to do that. So I decided maybe I should look up and see exactly what the price of the generic version of the drug is. And lo and behold, here's what I found. Now, this is the WebMD RX site, and you can see that with a coupon, you can get this from Kroger's for $10.80. And of course, this is the classic thing that almost every grocery store does. It's a loss leader. In other words, they are taking a bath on the $10.80 prescription here on the hope that if you buy this drug using the coupon through Kroger, that you'll switch all of your pharmacy medications over to Kroger. And of course, if you don't, then at some point this coupon runs out and you wind up paying, up there it says $215.99 for 30 pills. That's a lot of scratch for just a few pills. Now, Winn-Dixie has it for $13.86, Walmart for $25.25. So you can get a bottle of this for perhaps a little less money than the $215, $218, $219 that it supposedly costs in its generic form. But in this case, that's not the issue. The reason this person bought insurance in the first place was so that she would have a way to defray certain healthcare costs. And one of the healthcare costs that she sought to defray was prescription drugs. And indeed, she has a good prescription drug plan that would charge her basically $12 for this prescription. And the insurance company would eat the rest of that cost. And so they can get this drug for $12 every month if the physician does a prior authorization. When she called the doctor's office said, he's not going to do a prior authorization for a generic. I'll get you a coupon and you can get it for less. So this person dutifully checked out the coupon. It was $36 with the coupon. She didn't have access to the information that I presented about Walmart and Kroger and all that, because certainly all three of those are available where she lives. So she went back to them and said, I need him to do a prior authorization. And then instead of doing the prior authorization, because she had been in, she had seen the doctor, he'd written the prescription, there was absolutely no medical necessity for a second visit, but they told her, you'll have to come in for a one-on-one encounter if you're going to want him to do a prior authorization, which of course is nonsense. When people go to get a physician, everybody thinks of their physician as being a pretty decent person. In fact, I would say that most people, when they think about their physician, think about someone like this, someone who is attractive and kind and is sweet to them and listens to them, takes their problems seriously. Unfortunately, there are a few doctors out there who are more like this. And they are all about the Benjamins. How many times can I bring somebody in? How many times can I make their insurance company pay for a one-on-one visit? And how often can I sort of fill my piggy bank at their expense? This is the kind of thing that drives patients away from physicians, makes them go find other providers, for one, and two, when there is a screw up, and I can assure you at some point, every doctor makes a mistake. That's why they put erasers on the end of pencils, because everybody makes mistakes. When they do make a mistake, they are far more likely to get sued if they treat people badly. I have a story from my own experience to explain that. Hey, allow me to interrupt for just a second and ask you, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. And if you wouldn't mind, hit that like button. That lets YouTube know that this is a good video and they can recommend it to others. It helps me out a lot. Thanks. Many years ago, I was talking to a woman right after I started practicing law who had gone to a surgeon and had an operation in a hospital in Kansas City. And as a result, she had developed something called a vascular necrosis. A vascular necrosis essentially means somebody cut off the blood supply and it died. And in this case, what died was a large portion of her humerus, her long bone in her arm. And she wanted to sue, but she didn't want to sue the doctor. Her surgeon was much more like this doctor and not at all like this doctor. And the reason that they did not want to sue this doctor was because they considered him a family friend. He was someone that was part of their circle and they liked him and they weren't interested. And of course, many people fail to understand the whole concept of medical negligence. In order to have a medical negligence claim, you have to have an injury in fact that is caused directly or indirectly by the negligent act of the person that you're suing. So since she did not want to sue the doctor, I asked her who she wanted to sue, and she said the hospital. So we got all of the records, and I combed through the records trying to find something in those medical records that demonstrated that the hospital had dropped the ball. But after having it reviewed by two experts, both of them said, hey, it was not the hospital that dropped the ball here. It was the surgeon. He tied off a blood vessel he should not have tied off. So I went and explained to the lady that the hospital didn't do anything wrong. And oh my goodness, you would have thought that I'd called her a bad name. She said, well, they gave me the tray for the woman next to me in the hospital. That's right. They gave her the wrong food tray. And then she said, and not only that, they gave me the wrong medicine. And I'm like, well, when did they do that? So I went back and looked, and it looked like they had given her an injection of an antibiotic, Keflex, after surgery. Then in the post-operative period, they were supposed to give Keflex through the IV for 24 hours. They wound up delaying a dose by about 2 hours because of a mix-up. The lady in the bed next to her got the Keflex first. Her belief was that she got the medicine that was meant for her. That wasn't what happened, but I could understand her confusion. So I sat down with her and I said, here's the problem. Even if both of those things were negligence, which I don't think we can prove, the fact is those are not what caused your injury. What caused your injury was a ligation of a blood vessel in your arm that fed your bone. And basically, by virtue of cutting off that blood vessel, that's what killed the portion of bone that died. So I think maybe if you're thinking about suing, the only person we could really legitimately sue is the doctor. And she said, well, then I don't want to sue. And she got up and walked out. And to me, that was a fundamental moment in my career, because I realized that it was the relationship that she had with the doctor that protected that doctor. That how you treat people makes a huge difference in how you're perceived. If you come in and you walk up to the side of the bed as a physician and you touch the patient on the shoulder and you say, how are you feeling this morning? That does more for you than walking in and reading off of the chart and saying, well, these are your vital signs and it looks to me like you're doing fine. Hope you feel better. I'll come back around and round on you again tomorrow morning. If your visit with the patient in the hospital is 2 minutes, it does not exactly bring a great deal of confidence to the patient. So I offer these things up because I think they're important for people who have any kind of customer service orientation to understand. If you take care of the customer or the patient, if you treat them like a human being, if you are interested, if you take a little bit longer with them maybe than you ordinarily would, particularly when they're upset, and if you practice active listening and you also give them the benefit of what you know. Several years ago, I heard a doctor tell a patient who had expressed a view that perhaps there was a problem with the antibiotic that their patient was on. The doctor said, "Well, I'm not worried about that." And afterwards, I pulled the doctor aside and I said, "I think that was the wrong thing to say." And the doctor got their back up and I said, "No, I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying when you say I'm not worried about that, that's not the issue. Clearly, they were worried about that. And so the proper response is, here's why you shouldn't worry about that." And I think that if people just took the time to understand that when people have a problem and they go to someone, whether it's a mechanic, a dentist, or a doctor, to get a solution, what they want is somebody who cares about them and about the result. That's it. That's the lesson. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to drop them in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff we ask you to do. And as always, if you have the opportunity today, remember that kindness heals wounds that nobody can see. Just being kind to people is perhaps the best insurance against being sued for anything. Have a marvelous day, and I'll catch you down here at the beach next time. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.